What's up, guys? This is the epic final game to get me past 2000 rapidchess.com. So I had to take down Gale from Brazil, who he was 2012 or something, but I took him down in a very complicated and confusing to me Bronstein Larsen Caro Kann. So we play c6, we play d5, Caro Kann. We take the pawn, we bring out the knight and challenge it. He takes, we take with the g pawn, and here's the Bronstein Larsen starting position. He develops his knight as usual. We pin the knight so we can play e6 later, no problem. He breaks the pin, and again, as seen in many of my other previous videos, I should go queen c7, knight d7, long castle as soon as possible, but I always make this move, bishop d6, because I keep forgetting. I don't know why I keep making this move instinctively, but I shouldn't do it. Because this move, which may stop bishop f4, queen c7 also does, but queen c7 also prepares long castle. And having this bishop here stops this also for one more move, so. But whatever. I move my bishop out again. Now I develop my knight. After he goes g3, it is kind of a hook. You do have some h pawn ideas, but I want to get castled. So I develop my knight. He starts with an early c4. You know, I'm always on the lookout for d5 ideas. Takes, right? So you got to be kind of careful. So let's see if we play a random move like h5 and he pushes. This is protected, and this you don't want to take with a b pawn. Something like queen c7 defends it. And if he takes, you could take this way. How bad is it to take? Tricky. Maybe like a knight b6 here, hitting the pawn twice, forcing this, so such a dangerous position for black, such a risky opening. You have to play so accurately, it's very hard. Alright, well anyway. So in this position, I should maybe move my queen and castle. c5 takes. When is it correct to take with the knight, and when is it correct to take with the bishop? There's a lot of options here, so many options. But anyway, I probably should go queen e7 and long castle. Or queen c7. But in any case, I moved here, hitting the rook, which I don't actually like, because it forces the rook here, which actually makes d5 even stronger. So there's no reason for me to waste a move to make his move stronger. Now I did this with the idea that I would go here next with my bishop and then hopefully trade some pieces to release pressure. That was my idea anyway, because now the rook has to be blocked. A piece has to go here. I thought piece trades might help me. So he goes for the piece trade, but rather than developing his queen, I bring my queen out. Looks across the board, also threatens more piece trades, and now I'm ready to castle when I want. So I thought this whole bishop h3 forcing him, and then bishop b4 forcing him, and then queen a5 and castling, I thought that was like a kind of a force sequence that could help me relieve pressure and get a solid position so we could probably play an endgame. I don't know why I'm so thrilled about these endgames when I have worse pawn structure, but I should probably learn different openings. But anyway, he kicks it, so now I have to start trading stuff. So he takes with the knight because he doesn't want a queen trade. Fine. Now my ideas here were to castle long and to reroute my queen, because you could also see b4 is coming anyway. But I castled, not realizing he has that one opportunity to play c5, which cuts off my queen. And then, okay, I have to go queen c7, but it still has no squares from there because these will all be covered. So queen f5 does make the most sense to do right now, but I castled, giving him c5 opportunity. He didn't play it, he played b4. This not only lets me go to go to f5, it encourages it. I mean, the only other square I saw was c7, but it looked so passive, and queen f5 looks so active. So I went to f5. He goes here, lining up some d5 stuff, opening up the rooks. It's tricky business. And here I thought I found a genius move, a brilliant move. But it didn't get a brilliancy from chess.com, and that's because there is one strong reply for white. So I went knight e5, and I thought I was clever because knight e5, yes, it's hanging, right? But if he takes my knight, then I could take his knight. No, wait. What was I calculating? Yeah, I could take his knight. And if he takes my rook, I take his piece, and he can't stop checkmate. So basically the rook would be untouchable. And the bishop has to stay connected to the queen, or he loses that. And so if he takes the rook, it leads to checkmate. If he moves the queen, so he doesn't lose it, presumably, he has to stay in touch with it this way. You eventually lose it. Like here, I get a queen, he gets a queen, I get a piece, and I'm up a piece. So I thought I was clever, and I figured if he sees that, he's not going to take it, right? But then I have knight in here, I'll trade it for this bishop, and I got my knight out of this horrible spot, which was, you know, doing nothing. So I was happy with this move until he made his reply, which I did not consider. The only move for white is bishop e4. This removes the bishop from my attack, my knight's attack, and it hits my queen. And I spent a lot of time here. Here I was unhappy because I thought I was losing, which I probably am. Because if, let's just say I move the queen to a8, totally safe, he just takes my knight and he's up a piece. So all my like cleverness counts for nothing, because even if he took here and I took here, I don't have that checkmate idea. So I thought that all my clever tactics went out the window. And I was trying to decide if bishop g4 was a move, hitting the queen. And I wasn't sure what to do on f3. I wanted to play, I mean, there's bishop g4, queen g4, and queen g5, really. And I couldn't figure out, they all looked bad to me. If you go for the queen, he can just evacuate, and now he's hitting everything. If you go for the queen this way, f3, wherever you move your queen, he takes your knight. And then I saw queen g5, which I liked a lot, because if he takes your knight, you're hitting this twice, so you don't lose a piece. But I said, okay, on queen g5, he's gonna go f4. And what do? Because now it's double hitting this way. You have to move your queen again. So let's say you move it to h6. He takes your knight. You take his pawn. And apparently this is not terrible for black. Even though I'm down a full knight. I have a pawn for it. He can't take this way. And I take this next. Maybe it's not so bad for white, but all I saw in my head when I was calculating was f4. And wherever I move the queen, he wins a piece. So I didn't even look further. And so I eventually settled on bishop g4, which is a big mistake, because he can come out here with the queen, countering that threat, creating new threats. And then I have nothing to do but just wait to die. He did not see that, so he took the queen. Of course, I have to take his queen. And now he takes my rook. So he had a couple of ideas. One of them is to desperado this bishop with a check. Take a pawn. That way he gets a pawn out of it. He took this, and now I'm sitting there thinking, he's up a piece. If I take this bishop, he will take my knight. I take a pawn, he takes a pawn. He's hitting my pawn. They're double isolated. I'm going to easily lose. So you can't take the bishop. But what I can do is take one pawn back for the piece. So now I have one pawn back, pressuring the knight, pressuring the pawn, and hitting the bishop. Okay. The problem with this construction, the reason why it says I'm equal, even though I'm down a piece, is because the pressure I have, the placement of these rooks, the placement of this king, and the placement of this knight. So this is a tender square that he always has to watch out for. So he goes for the trade. The thing is, I feel like Yeah, okay, so he basically blundered my tactic, which is rook takes, brilliancy. He takes, and then I jump in here. And I win a full rook, not an exchange. Right? So now, I'm actually up a pawn. And my knight is threatening stuff, and my bishop, his bishop is hanging. So there's only so many moves that will not hang the rook and the bishop at the same time for white. He plays one of the only ones which counterattacks the knight. And this is where I was like, I could take a bishop, which is nice. But once he takes this knight, I'm going to have triple stacked isolated. The fact that I'm up a pawn won't matter at all. And if he can ever just get a rook to f4, he could just eat everything. Even if I take his bishop, even though I'm up a pawn, I feel like I'd be fighting for a draw. That's not what we want. And then I saw the possibility that the knight could take here. And if he takes it, like that's a desperado, then I take his bishop. Now I'm up 2 pawns, but then his rook immediately goes here. I activate my rook, he picks up a pawn, I go back here, he picks up a pawn, I go back here, he picks up a pawn. And it's like, you can't make things any easier for him. So even though I could be up 2 pawns, triple stack pawns are just that bad. So I don't go for that. I don't go for this. There is rook d8, which allows him to trade. I thought at the time he could take and I could take, but I guess if he takes, you can go f5 trying to block the bishop, but he can go g4. Then you have to take. I don't know, a little suspicious. So what I wanted to do was keep my knight on the board and let him keep his bishop, because I didn't want to ruin this pawn structure. I didn't want to triple it. If that means I have to let him keep his bishop, fine. I'm up a pawn at the end of the day. The only problem is my knight doesn't really have moves. So I had to sit here and calculate that if I went something like this, that every time he hits me, I have somewhere to go. Which is ridiculous, but it's what I did. And I just kept hopping around. And here I played f5. My intention was to swing my rook over without hanging this pawn. And also to stop any g5s, g4s from him, which will prevent all my f5s in the future. So whatever. I went f5. He attacks with the king. I have to move, hitting the rook. I'm glad he didn't keep pursuing my knight and gave me some time to breathe. I swung my rook over because I figure if he takes, I'm still up a pawn. I just don't want to get my knight trapped. That's the thing. So he trades, and he brings his king over. And now I'm worried because my knight, if he goes here, we'll only have this and this that don't lose material. Both of which not happy with. It looks like I'm just getting more trapped. I just moved my king up. And now I feel like he should have gone here. Because then I might have had to go here. Takes. Give back the pawn. Well, I can't even go here because he kicks it. So maybe then I have to go here. H5, something like that. But luckily he did f3 to try to take away the square from me, so that when he kicks me, I'm forced my only legal move that doesn't hang the knight is here. But this move also gave me a turn to panic and find the only move that saves the knight, b5. And what this does, well, he can't take it because then it's open here. And if he doesn't take it, it provides at least an outpost over here. Yes, he can take and double my pawns, but this 2, it's not really a 2 against 1 because this guy's still here. So he can't make a pass pawn, and it shouldn't really be a problem for me. So it's my only move anyway. I find it, he attacks it, I go there. He does trade, which I didn't think was good for him. If this pawn wasn't here, it would be, because he can get a pass pawn. But so he brings his king back, and now I want to get my king into here. I start moving it up. He prevents it, but he's also fixing his own pawns. And I'm always going to be able to break through because he never will have a break here, right? I could play h5 and always stop anything he's doing. And the main thing is that I have this extra f7 pawn. So I can always go f6 and break here. And then when he trades, I have this pass pawn and my king has mobility. And he can't not take me because then I can create a passer. His king will be tied down. And then maybe I can infiltrate somewhere else. So I go a6. And it looks random, but it's not random because I want to stop all of his stuff. Which means I want to play h5. Stopping g4. Stopping h3, g4. But he doesn't have h3 in yet, so I don't need to do this just yet. However, I want to go a6 and stop any eventual b5s because I'll just take it, take it, take it. So if I don't play a6 and I play like, I don't know, random move h6 and he goes b5, I mean, that's also still not a problem. It's not a problem. Takes, attack it, get in. No, he can't get in. Here. No, it's still fine for me. But I still have to make these moves anyway. I have to put him into, ideally, like a zugzwang. I get an h5, get an a6. He can't do anything with his pawns. And then I go f6, e5. With everything in place. So I started with a6. He wasn't necessarily threatening b5 at that moment, but now it's never ever a thing. He moves his king, but it doesn't matter because he has nowhere to go and nothing to do. I go f6, and the reason I have to go f6 here is because you can tell c5 check is coming, which is going to kick your king away, and you don't want his king to enter. So you want to cover this square. And so right now it's important to play f6 to cover this square. He kicks you, you can go back wherever. And now again, this is never a thing. If my pawn was here and I had to take this way, well, now he has a passer, which on its own isn't a thing, but still, now he never even has that idea. I move my king back. Unless he's going to shuffle his king, he has to prepare h3, g4, h3, h5. Now there is no g4 because takes. So he's in zugzwang, or he has to go h4. Okay, he moves his king instead of going h4, which would just take one of his waiting moves away. So now it looks like I have nothing to do because I can't push. It looks like I can't push, and it looks like I can't get my king in. But because of this pawn, I can always play e5. And whether he takes or not doesn't matter because now I have access to him, his side of the board. So he keeps shuffling because what else can he do? I move up the board. Again, doesn't matter if he takes. He doesn't take. But now I gain infiltration. They're looking bad for him. He shuffles thinking I'm not threatening anything. But that would be wrong. Because my king is making contact with this pawn now, whereas it wasn't anywhere else. I can start with giving him a check and cementing him to my passed pawn. Or I can do what I did in the game and go a5, which is now possible. The idea is, if he pushes past, we just take his pawn and then take this pawn. If he ignores me, I take his pawn. He can't ignore me again because I'll push. So if he takes me here, then this guy's passed. But the problem with anybody here being passed is that this guy's also passed, because at any moment I can intermezzo check him and pass, and have a passed pawn. And if he takes me, well, now my king can take this guy. This guy gets caught, and also his king can't go far because he has to watch this guy. So he ignores me and goes h4. I can either take immediately or push with check first. I take immediately. He takes. Now it should be very obvious to everyone that black is winning in this position automatically and easily, and you should be able to do it with, like, 10 seconds on your clock, because it's the principle of two passed pawns, this one and this one, and just a king cannot stop both. So all you have to do is push either one of them and you win the game. When he goes towards that one, you push the other one. I give a check, he runs, I push a pawn, and then I push the other pawn, and he resigned. And I broke 2,000 with this game. Nothing too crazy. Queen f5 makes sense in light of c5, but I got it off. This was a little too clever for my own idea, just because I didn't see the bishop e4 resource. Otherwise it was really smart. And here was an actual blunder, but he missed it. And then he blundered. I spotted this tactic pretty easily. And then I felt good here. I didn't think this knight around the board was the engine best, but I thought it was practically best. And yeah, then here I like how I played, so really good game. I've been winning these games recently on tactics and endgames. I guess my openings and middle games are... Alright, another brilliancy. 88% in the books. We've hit 2,000. There's only one place to go from here. That's 2,100, so... new series.